What if your life is a mirror, quietly replaying the pain your parents and grandparents never healed? You think you're making your own choices, yet every heartbreak, every hidden fear, every moment of self-doubt echoes from a wound much older than you. Carl Jung called it the burden of the unconscious, and until you learn its lesson, you will live out a story that isn't truly yours. But what if you could break free and become the first in your family to heal? From the moment you take your first breath, you are wrapped in a world of expectations, emotions, and beliefs that began long before you. You inherit more than your family's features. You inherit their unfinished stories, the feelings they tried to hide, the burdens they never managed to set down. These invisible hand-me-downs are not found in old photographs or family tales. They live beneath the surface, woven into your earliest experiences of safety, love, and fear. The arguments behind closed doors, the silences after disappointment, the smiles that didn't reach the eyes. Long before you had words for what you felt, your nervous system learned to recognize the unspoken moods of your parents, the secret rules about what could and couldn't be shown. Carl Jung called this deep unconscious inheritance the collective shadow. It is made of all the hurts and hopes that your parents, grandparents, and generations before them were unable or unwilling to face. They pass it on, not because they want to, but because it is all they know. And so, like an echo in a canyon, old pain reverberates down through time, whispering that love means sacrifice, that anger is dangerous, that safety can't be trusted, or that dreams are too risky. You may think your anxieties and struggles are your own, but so often they are the echo of a wound you did not cause. The perfectionism that keeps you awake at night, the fear of being abandoned, the way you shrink yourself to keep the peace. All these patterns are clues to an inheritance you never agreed to receive. The real weight of family pain is not in the dramatic stories, but in the quiet rules you learned without ever being taught. You may sense it in the way you avoid conflict, or in the voice that tells you not to hope for too much. These messages are passed down like a family heirloom, subtle, powerful, and rarely spoken aloud. But here is the truth. This inheritance is not your fault. It is simply the starting point for your journey. The past does not have to be your destiny. But before you can change the pattern, you must see it clearly. Only then can you begin to choose your own story, rather than repeating one that was written long before you were born. You might think the past is behind you, that you've left it at the doorstep when you stepped into adulthood. But family pain finds subtle ways to linger, shaping your life in moments so small you barely notice. Sometimes it shows up as a mood that comes out of nowhere, a heaviness in your chest on ordinary days, or a sudden flood of anxiety before you even know what you're afraid of. You may notice it in your relationships, the way you feel unworthy of love even when others care for you. Or maybe you find yourself drawn to partners who echo the same wounds you swore you'd never repeat. Perhaps it's the tension that flares when someone raises their voice, or the way you shut down when conflict appears, even over the smallest things. Family pain can hide inside the urge to fix everyone else, as if your worth depends on keeping peace. Or maybe it lives in your silence, the words you never say, the needs you never express, because somewhere deep inside you learned it was safer not to. You might find yourself overworking, always chasing approval that never quite satisfies. Or maybe you can't stand to see others upset, so you put their comfort above your own, time and again. Sometimes it looks like perfectionism, setting impossible standards for yourself because, once upon a time, mistakes felt dangerous, or not good enough was never enough. For some, the signs are physical, a tiredness that doesn't lift, a restless energy that keeps you busy but never at peace. Others carry a sadness that lingers just out of sight, surfacing in quiet moments. Or when you're alone. These patterns rarely feel dramatic. Most of the time they're just the background music of your life, a familiar rhythm, steady and unchanging. But if you listen closely, you can hear the echo of old pain trying to make itself known. Jung believed that what is not made conscious is lived as fate. When you begin to notice these signs, not with judgment, but with gentle curiosity, you take the first step away from repetition and towards something new. Maybe you've tried to start over, moved to a new city, ended old relationships, reinvented yourself again and again. You tell yourself that what's done is done, that you're stronger now, smarter, ready for a fresh chapter. Yet somehow, the same struggles seem to find you wherever you go, as if old patterns have learned how to follow. Carl Jung understood why this happens. He saw the unconscious as a powerful current running beneath the surface of our lives. What we try to bury or forget does not disappear, it simply waits, quietly shaping our choices from the shadows. The people we're drawn to, the conflicts we stumble into, even the emotions we can't explain, all can be the return of something we thought we'd left behind. You may believe you're acting freely, but so much of what you do is guided by scripts written long ago. The need for approval, the fear of abandonment, the drive to prove your worth, these are not random. They're survival strategies learned in childhood and carried into adulthood, even when they no longer serve you. Trying to outrun the past is like running from your own reflection. No matter how far you go, the patterns catch up, not because you're weak, but because they're written in the language of your unconscious. They show up to be understood, not avoided. This is why change can feel impossible. You change your circumstances, but the same emotions return. You choose different people, but familiar wounds reappear. Until you turn and face what's inside, the past remains your silent companion, quietly steering your life. But there is a way forward. The journey isn't about escaping your history, but understanding it, so you can finally set yourself free. There comes a quiet moment in every journey when you finally see the pattern not as fate, not as proof of your weakness, but as a living story asking to be understood. This is the turning point, the moment when awareness dawns and realize, maybe for the first time, that you are not just the product of your past, you are the author of what comes next. Awareness is not about blaming yourself or your family, it's about shining a gentle light on the places you've been repeating what was handed down. It's about seeing the unconscious contracts you inherited, vows to keep the peace at your own expense, to stay small so others feel comfortable, or to carry wounds that were never truly yours. Carl Jung called this process individuation. It's the lifelong work of becoming who you truly are, beneath all the masks, all the adaptations. It begins not with grand gestures, but with simple honesty, pausing to notice the feeling in your chest before you react, questioning the old stories that replay in your mind, asking yourself, whose voice is this really? Responsibility in this sense is not a burden, it's a form of freedom. When you own your story, you reclaim the power to choose differently. You stop waiting for others to change or for the past to undo itself, and begin to create new possibilities with every conscious choice you make. The moment you see the pattern, you create a space between what was and what can be. It may feel uncertain or even lonely at first, but it is the birthplace of real change. The courage to see yourself clearly and to respond with compassion instead of shame is how the cycle finally begins to shift. This is the first step toward healing not just yourself, but every story that follows you. Awareness is the doorway, but action is how you walk through. Healing family pain isn't about grand gestures or quick fixes. It's a journey of small, consistent choices, a practice of meeting yourself with gentleness, especially in the places where old wounds feel most raw. The first step is to become an honest observer of your own patterns. Notice when you feel triggered, when a familiar sadness or fear arises, or when you react in ways that leave you feeling small or powerless. Instead of judging these moments, treat them as messages of clues from your inner world, asking for your attention. Yourself, whose pain am I carrying right now? Is this feeling truly mine, or does it belong to a story much older than me? Sometimes, simply naming the emotion or tracing it back to its roots can soften its grip. Practice self-compassion. The patterns you carry were learned for survival, not as a punishment. Forgive yourself for the times you fall back into old habits. Healing is not a straight line, it is a spiral, returning to the same lessons until you meet them with new understanding. Journaling can help bring hidden patterns to light. Write about moments when you felt overwhelmed or noticed yourself repeating family behaviors. Over time, you'll begin to see connections that once felt invisible. Set boundaries even if it feels uncomfortable. When you notice yourself taking responsibility for someone else's emotions, pause. Remind yourself that you are not here to heal your parents' pain or to make everyone happy at your own expense. Boundaries are an act of love for yourself and for those who are still trapped in their own cycle. Seek support. You don't have to do this work alone. Whether it's a therapist, a trusted friend, or a healing community, sharing your story in safe spaces can loosen the hold of shame and isolation. Sometimes, hearing someone else's journey is the mirror you need to see your own progress. Embrace the practice of self-parenting. Offer yourself the comfort, patience, and encouragement you may have needed as a child. When old wounds flare up, speak to yourself with kindness. It's okay to feel this. I'm here for you now. Celebrate small victories. Healing doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as pausing before reacting, choosing to rest instead of pushing through, or saying no when you would have said yes just to keep the peace. These small acts, repeated over time, begin to rewrite the story you inherited. Finally, remember that integration, not rejection, is the goal. You are not erasing your family's history. You are learning to carry it differently. You are breaking the cycle not just for yourself, but for every generation yet to come. Every time you choose awareness over automatic reaction, compassion over self-judgment, or boundaries over old habits, you're doing something extraordinary. You are not just healing for yourself, you are shifting the energy of your entire family line. The work you do in silence, often unseen and uncelebrated, sends out ripples that reach far beyond your own life. When you interrupt a pattern, refusing to pass down shame, anger, or silence, you become the place where the cycle ends. Children, siblings, friends, and even your parents can begin to feel this change. Sometimes it happens slowly, in small moments. A conversation that's more honest than usual, a decision made from self-respect, or a forgiveness that eases years of distance. Carl Jung believed that the individual's work of healing the unconscious has a collective impact. What is brought into the light in one person's life opens the way for others to do the same. You may never fully see the results of your effort, but know that every act of courage and kindness, every choice to feel rather than numb, every truth spoken gently but firmly, is changing the future for those who come after you. You are not just breaking a pattern, you are building a new legacy. The safety, love, and acceptance you learn to give yourself become gifts you offer to everyone around you. Your healing inspires others to begin their own journey, sometimes without a single word being spoken. There is no act too small to matter. The ripple of your healing can reach places you may never know, and the family pain you were given does not have to be the story you pass on. In this way, you become not only the author of your life, but a source of hope for generations to come. What if you are the one your family has been waiting for, not to carry their pain, but to finally transform it? What if the story changes here, with you? The cycles you notice, the patterns you're brave enough to face, may feel heavy at times, but each small act of awareness, each moment of compassion for yourself, is a step toward freedom that echoes far beyond your own life. So ask yourself, as you move through your days, what lesson is asking to be learned right now? What story are you finally ready to rewrite? And if you stopped running from your family's pain, what kind of healing might begin not just for you, but for everyone who comes after?